You're listening to Opera Box Score.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Wherever you are, however you're listening, it's America's talk radio show about opera. It's Opera Box Score. I'm Weston Williams, joined by Oliver Camacho, Ashley Hardgrave, and Matt Cummings. All right, this week we go inside the huddle with Christopher Sokoloski. The American Heldentenor had a breakout year in 2025, coming to international attention, singing Captain Vere in the story of Billy Budd at Aix-en-Provence, followed by an unscheduled role debut as Parsifal at Flanders Opera. Listen for the exact moment when Oliver falls in love. I promise you can hear Oliver's heart break wide open, and it's strange because we know he doesn't even like Wagner operas. Then tenor Zachary Wilder takes a free throw on being an American in the elite realm of historical performance practice in France. The baroque specialist has a brand new album that weaves together klezmer, musical theater, jazz, opera, and art song called Brooklyn Suite. And to complete our tenor three-pointer, Anthony León returns to make a free throw on singing Mozart. León makes his lyric opera of Chicago debut in Cosi tutte next month. Plus, in the 2-minute drill, was there any way to know that the Saudi Arabian government can't be trusted? If you're Peter Gelb, the answer to that question was probably no, I guess. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify. Click follow on Apple Podcasts. Hit the plus sign. You can also stream episodes of OBS every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central at amplisoundsradio.com. Email us your hot takes by writing to mailbag@operaboxscore.com or upload a voice memo using the You Got Something to Say tab on our website, operaboxscore.com. However you contribute, you'll get an OBS beer coaster, an OBS lapel pin, and a #1 OBS fan foam finger just for sharing your own hot take. Now, without further ado, I would ordinarily bump this over to Oliver, but he is not here because his sleep schedule is aligned with the Southern Hemisphere trying to watch the Australian Open.
Ooh.
So
we're going to have to get his hot takes on a 1-week delay.
I'll start with Ashley Hardgrave.
Okay, listen. We had a lot of Bears fever on this show last week.
We did.
And
turns out it was terminal.
look, we didn't advance. I'm sad and I'm proud. I'm proud and I'm sad. But ultimately, we took Green Bay out of the playoffs before last week even happened. So, it's a big win.
So it's really a moral victory.
Honestly, it's true. Well, and NFL overtime rules are stupid. I'll just say that. But the nice vibe that I've gotten from pretty much everybody is that, often when NFL teams get knocked out of the playoffs, there's a lot of anger and vitriol that comes from their fans towards the team. You're not getting that out of Chicago. Everybody here is we went from 5 wins in a season to this. We love Caleb Williams. He's our hero. Even more straight men were painting their nails this week. Just incredible, incredible stuff. He was at the Blackhawks game last night and got a standing ovation. Just amazing, amazing stuff. So I'm terribly proud of my Bears, but I also want to give a quick shout out to a local company called the Valkyrie Ensemble. They did an opera drag cabaret called Glitter and Be Gay.
10 out of 10 name.
It included a tap dancing Carmen, a one-person Porgy and Bess, and I want to shout out the people who sang in this: Naomi Brigelli, John Doe Raimi, Mix Alidian, Layla Love.
Incredible.
Marissa Howard, Wes Andy Sins, and the Maidens, who did an incredible version of a duet from Offenbach's La Rue Parisienne that included a full costume change for both of them. It was incredible. So congrats to the folks over at Valkyrie Ensemble. I had a great time at your show.
Matt Cummings, I'm going to need a drag name. What should I get? I
mean, you're throwing me the wrong segue because I was going to talk about the Bears going adios senza rancor, but you can just pretend that was just as clever and a drag name.
I think it's very clever, and also anything's a drag name if you put your mind to it. Let's talk some opera.
Huddle up. Let's go inside the huddle.
According to Oliver, if you are a gay man who watches opera clips on Instagram, you probably would have seen the incredible content coming out of the production of Parsifal that happened at Flanders Opera last fall. That slim, youthful, and handsome tenor singing Parsifal is our guest today. And those are the 3 descriptors we normally don't use to describe a Heldentenor. Before Christopher goes inside the huddle, here's a little bit of his role debut that brought the critics and apparently Oliver to his knees.
only I would say, second Heldentenor we've had on the show. I've interviewed Russell Thomas, so I think is more of a dramatic tenor in the Italianate sense. But Clay Hilly is our only other Heldentenor guest. We've had Lisa Davidson. We've had Ryan Speedo Green, who I don't think started his career as a heroic baritone, but now seems to be going in that direction. Mm-hmm. But you're the first person who, I will say, at a young age, what are you, 30 now, or?
I'm 34.
34. Okay. You look like you're like 19 years old, but but you're the first person who is like starting his career essentially in this Fach that I've interviewed. And so I want to get to that in just a minute, mm-hmm. but I want the audience to know that I made a mistake. And at the beginning of the year, we talk about artists we want to watch in 2026. And I'm just very excited about the Florentine Opera production of Tales of Hoffmann coming up. It's one of my favorite operas. So I shouted out the cast of that opera, Kang Wang and Suzanne Burgess. But honestly, you're the person I'm most curious in following this year to see what's going to happen.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to say that like you came to my consciousness just this summer. Ian Rucker is a alumnus of the Ryan Opera Center here in Chicago, and his career seems to be exploding. And I was very excited that Aix-en-Provence was doing this Billy Budd Light, this chamber Billy Budd. Yeah. And so I was like, I didn't get a chance to go this year. I really would have loved to have. But I was just watching the content coming out of Aix-en-Provence, and I saw images of you. And I was like, who is this gorgeous man singing Vere? And like, it made me so desperate to go see this production because Billy Budd is one of my all-time favorite operas. Mm-hmm. And I cry just thinking about the story. But then to see this cast of these just really beautiful men, I feel like, oh man, whoever the director of this or who cast this really knows the audience. So can you talk about this chamber Billy Budd and what it was all about, and did it lean into the gay male gaze, which feels like the imagery from it feels like it does, but maybe I'm just characterizing it?
I think the way that they casted the production with Ted Hoffman and with Julien Benamou, who is the director there, the casting director, they really went, I think, to pretty good lengths to find people who look, of course, young, but also contemporary. And I think that's a really big thing that I know that's something that Ted Hoffman really focuses on with his productions that he makes. He wants really to take these stories that may be locked in a dusty book somewhere on a bookshelf and pull them into a really modern eye. And I found that really unique and, of course, compelling with what he did with Billy Budd, because in particular, it deals with a subject matter that was, for Benjamin Britten, very, very, in its own way, groundbreaking in England to take very queer, which he did for his whole career, with his relationship with Peter Pears, with his song repertoire, with his stage works, to take queer identity and kind of make an expose of it. And this was brave in his time, and I think what Ted Hoffman really wanted to accomplish was to make sure that it now doesn't feel dusty on a bookshelf, but he wants to take these queer dynamics and this queer love triangle and put it in the center of the stage, and not dance around it, and not make it subtle, and not make it implied, but rather make it realistic, and make it, for a 21st century audience, tangible. So it's as if he took every moment, or we all together took every moment where there was a heightened queer facet of the story, and we put a magnifying glass on it so that we could make sure that today's audience is able to look at it with as fresh eyes as it probably felt in the 1950s when it premiered. So he took this queer story and made it really resonate with the audience. And the shows were all sold out. We had to add an extra show, which was very demanding for us because we ended up doing 2 on one day, only within a couple of hours of each other, of each of the performances. But the response from the audience was really tremendous. So I think it really was a success in that sense.
Well, one of the reasons why we don't see this opera produced so frequently is because of the ridiculous cast, like the demand for just giant male chorus and having a Vere which I think might be the hardest role to cast. And to a certain extent, the Claggart. There are 1,000 Billy Buds out there. But do you feel like this version of Billy Bud, please tell us how it is sort of, re-orchestrated and for lack of a better word, how it's recast. Rearranged so that it can be produced sort of on a smaller scale. Because I think none of us, except for people who are at X this year, haven't seen this thing.
Yeah, it's really stripped down. There's no chorus at all. They kept all of the vocal lines really as Britten wrote them. And then they had, with Oliver Leith, a composer who has worked with Ted Hoffman on other projects as well, he rearranged the entire score to make an extremely, in some moments, extremely experimental, extremely dream ambient vibe, to make a really modern ear to the background of Britten's vocal lines. All of the lines also in the orchestra are 95% also from Britten, but he orchestrated them with two, I have to remember now, it feels so long ago, but it was only 5-6 months ago, three synthesizers and percussion. And the conductor was playing one of the synthesizers as well. And I was conducting at one point, and Ian Rucker was playing the synthesizer. So we were all kind of, all the instrumentalists were on stage in certain roles at some times. Otherwise, there were only 6 or 7 of us in the cast. I think it was 7. So stripped down completely. So we sang all the choir. We divvied up all of the parts. We kept the story as true as it is. But it made a really interesting way to look at the story, to see how we could all kind of intertwine between all of these different characters. For me, playing the role of Captain Vere, and I'm going to forget the name of the other role now. It was Squeak. Squeak is his name.
Yeah, Squeak, okay.
Captain Vere and Squeak. So it was a really interesting dual assignment of the role of the man who has to sentence Billy to death, and to be the voice of fate in the opera, but also Squeak, who's the one who entrapped Billy into making the mistake that he made on the ship. So Squeak and Captain Vere played both sides of this story. So for me as an actor, it was an interesting way to kind of have two different ends on the story. But yeah, to get to your question, it kind of turns the whole opera inside out and puts a magnifying glass on all of the heat. I think the New York Times called it a 2 hours in a pressure cooker, and that's really what it felt like for us as well, because it goes directly through with no break for just under 2 hours. No.
Do you feel like this version has legs? I mean, there's this thing, the tragedy of Carmen, which I sort of hate, that they made. I don't know if you heard about this redux of Carmen that was being performed like in the 80s and 90s.
90s, yeah.
Yeah. Not my thing. Do you, and I probably shouldn't have said that before I ask you this question. Do you feel like this version of Billy Budd has legs?
I think, absolutely. I think especially nowadays when it becomes quite expensive for companies to mount works like Billy Budd, it's a shame that the flip side to that dilemma is that it's not produced. And it's a shame that the story is no longer told because it's expensive to do. So I think this makes the piece extremely attractive to festivals, to small format audiences, where you're able to do more experimental things and kind of get to the heart of the matter a bit more directly than you can do in a huge opera house that has sponsors to appease and state funding to appease and politics and blah, blah, blah. I think it really is a really authentic, modern way to look at the story. No question.
Well, coincidentally, you're going to be doing another very expensive to make opera that has a queer subtext, the King Roger of Szymanowski, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I guess we should talk about you for a minute, because I did invite you on because I'm really excited for what's happening. I'm just going to put it out there for the audience who don't know and who don't follow you on Instagram or haven't investigated. You're a very good-looking guy. You are young. You look like you're in your 20s, and you are already getting cast in Heldentenor roles, which I think for some directors is just a dream to have somebody who can act like you, who is comfortable with their body, who is lithe and youthful, but who has this voice that, I mean, it's stunning, the sounds you are making. Can you tell us when you began to realize that you're able to make this type of space and to, you know, sing these type of lines with enough, you know, brass in the sound to be heard over the Wagnerian orchestra? But right now, your tone is still youthful. Your tone is still very beautiful. And I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment, that like Heldentenor shouldn't have beautiful tones. You know, let's be honest. Like, you don't always want to hear the tone of a Heldentenor. It's exciting to be in the space with one, and you know the demands that are being made. So you have to have that volume, but it's not always a pretty sound.
I think it's an interesting kind of modern dilemma, I have to say, because I think there are a lot of people who end up in the Heldentenor repertoire in a way that is somewhat inorganic for even them. It's turned into a Fach that is a late career repertoire choice for anyone who kind of who is capable of going for it, rather than recognizing that these certain vocal qualities that you need to have as a dramatic tenor or Heldentenor are intrinsic qualities of the voice that, if properly nurtured, are available very soon after puberty, if we're being really honest. As soon as the body's finished developing, of course, our bodies are always developing, our larynxes are always developing. In the 30s and 40s, the voice goes through an ossification period. There's a lot of things that happen to the instrument as we age that help us in this repertoire, there's no question, also with regards to stamina and power of lungs and the voice and the body. But the vocal folds are you know, these ideas of Fach, they are intrinsic qualities of voices, of singers. How we can describe a voice is something that should be available to a singer when they're trained properly from an early age. Most of the roles that I sing now were premiered by people in their 20s. So it always kind of is a bit funny to me when reviews are saying, oh, he's so young to be taking this repertoire now that I'm 34, turning 35. When, you know, the first Siegfried, I think he was like 24. The first Canio and Pagliacci was 21. You know, a bulk of the operatic repertoire was premiered by people in their 20s. As young as 16, the first Elizabethan Tannhäuser was 16. So we've kind of got into this twisted way of thinking about music, about roles, about vocal writing, and thinking that it's something that comes with age rather than something that simply comes with training. So my own journey came from throughout my 20s, constantly being told that I was a Mozart tenor, a Rossini tenor, a very light tenor. I started as a countertenor, so I think I threw a lot of people off with my voice in general. So I spent the bulk of my 20s trying my best to force my voice to work in Rossini or Mozart. And I had some successes with, for example, La Clemenza di Tito, when I sang Tito. This role, which is a role that is sung by, can be sung by a Jugendliche Heldentenor, a young dramatic tenor, this one worked pretty well for me. And people were surprised by that, because otherwise, on the flip side, I was struggling trying to sing things like Tamino, or Belmonte, or Don Ottavio, things that people would attribute to a young tenor voice. But the truth of the matter is, and I learned when I turned 30, and I was really tired of struggling, and a casting director gave me a little bit of permission. He said, you know, I don't know what you need to make of this information, but I think you might be a Heldentenor. So either you're going to have a really boring 30s as you wait until you're 40 and figure it out, or you're going to be smart and you're going to find your own way. And for me, that's all I really needed to hear. And it was interesting to hear, because I'm quite a vocal nerd. I really like singing technique. I know the voice really well. I know how it works. I can listen to a singer and be able to diagnose issues or talk about repertoire or understand their Fach immediately. After 2 notes, I can make an assessment on a singer. But for me, I never once considered actually that I would ever sing this repertoire. And I find that so funny, but I was so lost in the weeds of my own vocal training, not understanding why I was struggling. And meanwhile, all of my colleagues were able to sing and enjoy singing and sing easily. And for me, it was never the case. I was always fighting my instrument. I ended up finding some repertoire that I liked. I loved singing Handel, for example, or modern music. But the 19th century repertoire, I couldn't get my voice around. And it frustrated me because I really liked the music. But yeah, once I turned 30 and I kind of got the permission from this casting director, I read some interviews of other Helden tenors, James King, for example, and he was going at lengths about how his passaggio sits at an E flat or an E natural. This is where he would have to turn his voice. And I was like, oh, it's so reassuring to hear a tenor say that, because I didn't pay attention to dramatic tenors. I didn't read their interviews so much. And to hear someone say that, I was like, that makes perfect sense for how I actually think my instrument should work. And within a week of this revelation, I was already learning Freischütz and learning Am Fortes die Wunde from Parsifal and singing through this repertoire. And overnight, my larynx was free. I could immediately feel that my voice was at home. So it's been a really exciting 5 years for me as I've been exploring all of these sides of my voice.
There's so much there that is for singers, and I sort of want to go in that direction because I'm fascinated. And I hope that my non-singing audience doesn't feel alienated. But you said a bunch of things right now that I didn't expect you to say. I didn't realize you were such a technically minded artist. And I guess you have to be if you're singing Helden repertoire at age 34. But can you just briefly talk about how, like, the Duke of Mantua, who's, the whole idea of that role is navigation of the passaggio and making, the G and the A flat very exciting notes, how that is dangerous for a voice type like yours?
It's about the inherent timbre, the inherent qualities of the sound, the primal sound that the voice can make. I am not physically capable of making a sound that I had dozens of extremely well-intended teachers trying to get me to put the sunshine in my voice, to get this Pavarotti sound. Everyone wants to sound like this beautiful, brilliant, in maschera kind of quality of singing. I would do this and I would lose my voice for 3 days. I'm not capable of creating the frequencies to accomplish what is necessary, what people expect in the lyrical tenor repertoire. And I did so many tricks trying to accomplish it, and sometimes I got really close, but at the end of the day, I was having to contort my voice, lifting my larynx, squeezing my throat, screwing with my vowels, to try to get this acoustical color palette of sunshine that a role like Duke of Mantua needs. And I can look at a score now for 2 minutes and recognize if it's going to be suitable for me or not. And it has to do mostly, and this is kind of like a working theory I have, but so far I haven't found a flaw in it. There are voices that like to gravitate upwards, that kind of go anti-gravity. They are pulled to their passaggio. They find a home in this upper register. It's like their voices are drawing them to that upper range. This is a lyrical voice. Versus as me, there are dramatic voices that really rely on the nature of gravity, the concept of gravity with the vocal line. I need to return back down. My voice is comfortable in the low voice. There are so many singers who say it's really dangerous to put too much weight in the low voice or else they'll lose their top.
The upper middle. If you press on the upper middle, you ruin it,
For me, it's completely the opposite. If I don't indulge in my low voice, I lose my top completely. As soon as I try to save my voice for the upper range, I lose it. It disappears. And I've noticed this also with other singers that I've worked with, because a lot of struggling dramatic singers have been writing me, identifying with my story, with how I sing, and they're in the same boat as me. They've been able to say, I am also have been a lyrical singer trying to accomplish X, Y, and Z, and I also can't do it. And in some singers that I've been teaching, very quickly, when I explained kind of very rudimentary qualities of how I think about singing, which at this point I think so basically about singing. I think as soon as you add mysticism to the singing voice, it becomes really hard to chase. For me, the way I think about singing is so basic, and it's really eye-opening for a lot of singers who have been told so many different qualities in maschera, this letting the voice lift high, letting the sound come out the top of your head, a lot of this kind of very cliche 20th century vocal advice that applies so strictly to lyrical voices, but it bypasses the slightly different way of training that dramatic voices need. And I think this is, by and large, a reason why we have so few nowadays. It's a different type of training. And for some reason, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we became afraid of treating the voice the way that it needs to be treated in the dramatic repertoire.
Wow, we're running out of time, and I want to ask you so many more questions, but can you
we'll have to do a part 2. I'm talking too much. I'm so sorry.
No, I love it. I really do. Can you tell us the story of this Parsifal at Opera Vlaanderen? Is that how you say that?
Vlaanderen, yeah.
Vlaanderen.
Flanders. Yeah, well, it was September 1st. I had just gotten back from a holiday in the US, and my agent called me asking if I knew the role Parsifal, saying that there's someone looking for it. I assumed it would be in months, and I said, I don't know it, but tell them I know it, because I can learn it. It's one of the few roles that I knew I could just throw together if I need to, because I knew it would suit me so well. So I began learning it. I ran to the piano and I memorized Act 1 in...
While you were still on holiday?
No, I just got back. I was just back. And then 2 days later, she said, okay, they want you for the role. It starts rehearsals in 3 days. I was like, okay, well, that changes things quite a bit. And I fell sick immediately from the stress. I was like, what am I doing? This is such a crazy idea. I don't even know the role. I know 4 minutes in the middle of Act 2. That's it. It's not even an opera I really listened to, but I knew enough about the vocal writing that I knew it would be appropriate for me. But long story short, the premiere was in 3 weeks from that day, and in 7 days' time, I had the whole role memorized. I really don't know how, because I find that it takes me a while to memorize opera, but I guess adrenaline really helped me in this moment. And
Did you sleep during those weeks?
Yes. Somehow I was really at ease, because it was a score that suited me so well. I wasn't nervous for the writing of it. It was just getting the words in my head. There were 1,290 words. I don't know why I thought it was helpful to know that, but somehow it made it seem accomplishable. And yeah, it was an incredible time with a really innovative and cool production by Susan Kennedy and her partner Marcus Zelg, using a lot of AI-generated projections and performers on stage that were not singing but were acting on stage the entire time. It was really an extremely amazing production. For me, I had such a wonderful time doing it, such great memory, and a role that I'm so happy I was able to just premiere and get it over with, because I adore the opera. I adore the role.
Yeah, and the video, content that has come out of it has been beautiful, and that's where I was like, oh my God, this is a major, major talent, and you look so relaxed. And, you're half naked on stage and you're singing this crazy, loud, but lyrical, I want people to see this, because it's like, it's phenomenal. So
it's raw. And what I love about the story is that all of the roles that I kind of get to now, they really benefit from a really raw access to it. The audience should not see an opera singer. That's really what I think about whenever I take on roles. I don't want the audience to think that I'm singing for one moment. I want them really just to be taken by the text and the story, and the wave of sound from the orchestra. It's really a important thing for me that you don't get stuck in looking like a singer and holding your body like a singer. I think audiences have expectations now, and if we want to keep the audiences, we really have to accept the fact that they are watching for the rest of the week Netflix and going to cinema. They're not indulging in overexposed tropes of performance physicality of a singer. They're really looking for direct emotion, direct rawness, reality, being able to see themselves in these productions as well. And I think that was really possible with this production of Parsifal. So I took advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, I think you already addressed the expectations of the current audience versus what we have just come to expect as regular opera-going audiences. Your coming out is a real surprise, and I think it's going to be very exciting to see who else captures you and is able to present you. I'm sure your calendar is already full. But do you have any intentions of performing in the U.S. in the near future besides the King Roger we're about to talk about?
The King Roger I have, yes, coming up this year. It's a role that I'll also do again next season, and I will also make my debut on the West Coast in the U.S. In September and October. To be announced. They like to hold their details tightly to them, so we can't say much. But I will start having a bit more performance in the US. My career has been completely in Europe so far, so I'm in some ways hired as the European artist in America. But
yeah. Well, now you have this weird accent, so it's fine.
I know. So. No one knows where I'm from anymore. For the audience at home, I'm from New York, but you would never guess it. So.
In the remaining minutes we have, can you tell us about King Roger, what this opera is about? And we had a version of it in Chicago. It was sort of like semi-stage, but I'm sort of excited to see what Des Moines is going to do with it this summer.
It's with Chaz Vader-Schieber, the director. I worked with him when I made my debut in Des Moines in 2023. In The Love for Three Oranges, and I actually also worked with him when I was studying at Indiana University when we did Alcina together. So I've known him for actually quite a long time.
As a countertenor or a tenor?
As a tenor. As a tenor when I was doing my master's there. And he has such an eye for everything. Really, every production that I've seen of his and that I've worked on of his, it's definitive. The way he's able to expose the story and to flesh it out, I can't imagine it being done in any other way. He's so thorough with the way he prepares productions that I can't wait to see what he has in store for this. He already sent me some costume sketches, so get ready for some skin. I'll just say that.
I can't wait.
But it's a story, it's an opera that I didn't know until last year when I was listening to it for the first time, and it gave me chills over my whole body. The opera, the score is incredible. The story is so incredible, and the way it also skirts around this queer identity, this kind of gay love story is also really cool, and so surprising for the circumstances by which it was composed. I don't know much about the origin of the story. I'm kind of only now getting into the nitty-gritty of my research with it. But long story short, it's the role of this Dionysus, Apollo in disguise kind of shepherd who comes and is representing a new religion, and he's kind of ravishing a whole village away from their old ways and drawing them towards his new ways, to the point where even King Roger sees him as a threat, and at the same time is intrigued by him. And he keeps putting himself in quite intimate positions with him. He invites him over to his room late in the evening to be alone with him. And there are many ways to read it. There are many ways to stage it. I'm sure there are many ways to treat the story. But I'm really curious to see how Chaz will choose to interpret this kind of queer attraction into the story. It's going to be a really, really amazing production. I know.
And I assume it's your first time singing in Polish.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is a monster in its own right.
But you memorized Parsifal in a week, so we have lots of faith.
It's a bit different, but I guess we'll see how that goes. It's a really cool language. It's not one that I know very well. As with any new language, it's a big thing about understanding the syntax and the sounds. And for me, it's really important to sound as idiomatically true in the languages, as even if there's no one in the audience that understands it. So much comes from just understanding the syntax, the nitty-gritty of the grammar of the language to make it come through to the audience. Even if they're not understanding the words, the intentions become so much more clear. So it's going to be a big challenge to make it feel natural, but looking forward to it.
Christopher Sokoloski sings The Shepherd in King Roger at Des Moines Opera this July. I'm sure Oliver will remind us incessantly, just as he reminded us all about tennis. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify. Click follow on Apple Podcasts. Hit the plus sign. Grab a friend. Make him watch. And in the meantime, sit back and enjoy... Oh, what's this? Another tenor?
Free throw.
American tenor Zachary Wilder made his bones in Boston, appearing regularly in Boston early music festivals, baroque operas, before moving to France and becoming the tenor du choix for stylish groups like Pygmalion, Le Concert d'Astrée, the Monteverdi Choir, and I Gemelli. lots of languages in that copy, Oliver. You're really putting me through my paces. This September, he makes his Haymarket Opera debut in the title role of Monteverdi's Orfeo, but last week, his new solo album on Harmonia Mundi dropped. It's called Brooklyn Suite and tells the story of his musician ancestors who immigrated to America with a mixture of lieder, opera, musical theater, klezmer, and jazz. Before Zachary takes a free throw on his signature repertoire, let's hear a bit of Dizzy Fingers from Brooklyn Suite.
Because of my job, but also because of my passion, I, get all the recordings. And just within the past 2 or 3 years, you're on so many projects, a lot of them on those Versailles label and on Harmonia Mundi, which to me signals with the most stylish bands. You don't do right down the middle, on Arado or Warner, who have more approachable, early music recordings. These are the ones that are for the nerds, for me, and I love it. Can you talk about being the American tenor who's hired to do all of this haute contra and seicento music?
It's an immense honor to, you show up and you're in Versailles and you're like, what the heck am I doing here? But no, it's been amazing because I feel sort of somewhat adopted by the French community, but and to be invited on some of these French operas to perform in French is really with just only French singers has been kind of amazing and wild, and I feel not to be overly saccharine about it, but I do feel very honored to be in that position. But our education in the United States for languages, was immensely helpful for that. Being able to show up and sing French and Italian and German at a high level from the get-go is a real strength, I think.
Well, I want to talk to you about national style and having that skill to adapt so that you are acceptable in Italian repertoire and in French repertoire. But before, so keep that in mind. But can we talk a bit about your technique? Because I don't want to insult my fellow Americans, but our American training is, in my opinion, not that adaptable for some of this stylist stuff you have to do, to be able to turn on a trill on a dime, to be able to take the vibrato out, to be able to do lots of, voix mixte. All these things are not things that we learn as American singers. So where did this come about for you? Who was the person that invited you to start using these aspects of your singing?
It really started, I have this whole album that's about pop music or, musical theater and all that. So I think that was definitely a good training in terms of having a variety and a good ear for harmony. But it's been a long journey in terms of being able to find something that's sustainable. I do think that generally, American singers, we tend to have a very good, solid school. And in Europe, we're known for that, of being very solid. Perhaps not the most flexible, but the most dependable. We're the oxen of the
jocks,
of the singers. We're the jocks sometimes, yeah. But I was very lucky to come upon a teacher that I still work with. I've been working with him for 12 years, named Jean-Renaud Lafond. And he was really the first voice teacher that I worked with he's a Wagnerian, but he loves early music. And so I'd bring him all this crazy repertoire where especially this haute conte stuff where you're having to sing words on above your passaggio for 3 pages. And he was like, well, okay, let's figure this out. He wasn't get this crap out of here, which I had in other instances, but just trying to find, strength as well. And to, if you're going into voix mixte or if you're going into straight tone, and how do you come back to center, and how do you do it in a way that's not knocking you off of your center, so that you have stamina and you're able to be heard and stay healthy. Because, I just did, for example, this Christmas, I did 7 Christmas oratorios of all 6 cantatas in a row. And that piece is a beast. I think it's harder in a certain sense than like the St. Matthew Passion in a crazy way.
It wasn't even meant to be performed all together.
No, it's like, and it's meant for like 6 different singers. So like you're up in like the stratosphere at the beginning, and then you're down here for like 2 cantatas, and then you're suddenly like super dramatic, like, and you have to kind of find your way through that and have a lot of different ways to kind of approach this stuff.
Small anecdote. This Christmas, I got a chance to do the Charpentier Messe de Minuit, and I took the au contre solos. And also on the program, we were doing some schutz, and I could not sing the schutz. It was too low. Like, and I'm known for singing low, but like once my voice was in that au contre, I was like, I'm not coming back from this.
Yeah, I mean, Charpentier is also, if I'm the honest, like, is the worst. I mean, his music is the best, but in terms of the way he writes for haute contre, like, it really sets you up to fail. I think he had this much more kind of countertenory, because he was singing a lot of his own stuff. And the way he writes is a little more head voicey, it feels like, or that's what it feels like it wants to be, versus when you're doing stuff by Lully or by Rameau, it's much more kind of based in a more like central muscular. Even if you're going up to the high notes, you're coming down eventually.
Yeah. No, I get that. And hilariously, I thought when the recording would come up, I was like, oh my God, I know I'm so loud in this, because like it felt so loud in my head. But when I heard, it's like I could barely hear myself.
I mean, that's the thing about, like, especially when you're not able to kind of, because I've been in that situation where I've done Charpentier and I try to, like, I'm like, okay, I need to go back down to the relaxed, loving place, and because that's where the volume really comes from, is that kind of relaxation. But if he has you up here all the time, you can't really. There's no way to like project, because you're on such thin folds for like pages. It's nuts.
Yeah, and every performance at like the 30-minute mark of that mass, I begin to feel like, okay, I'm not going to get to this phrase.
Yeah, you just have to take it phrase by phrase. You're like, okay, that phrase was okay, and then like just get your brain to like be okay with what's going on.
I want to talk to you about Pygmalion, because I am obsessed, and I feel like Raphael is just such a genius, and everything he chooses, I was like, I would do the exact same thing, It's just always so creative and inspired and stylish, and like the people he gets. I mean, even I'm not like a big like organ person, but that Sabine de Viel aria, Bach aria album, he has like this little organ sinfonia from one of the cantatas, and it's like rock and roll. It's like, oh my God, this is so cool. So what is it like working with him?
I mean, first of all, I have to say he's like an incredibly nice person. Like humanly, like he really cares about the people he works with, especially like the people he works with often, like his orchestra, his choir. He really takes care of them, and because of that, they want to. There's this desire, to give as well from the people that he's working with. But yeah, and also he's a total repertoire nerd in a great way. And what I love is, I'm touring next with him in February, this program of, obscure Erlebach and like Jean-Michel Bach, and then mixed in with Bach at the end just to give the people what they want. But people are going insane for this unknown repertoire, and because and it sells out over here, for most of the concerts that we do, and because people know, even if they're like, I don't know who the heck Erlebach is,
they trust
or who the
him.
heck, They trust him, yeah, because they know that he's going to put on a rock and roll show, and he's going to pick the best of the best of the best, and that's his brand, and it's awesome. But yeah, and working with him, he knows he's incredibly detail oriented. We actually have this phrase in French, which is essentially like splitting hairs, but in a good way, like where he's like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if you just like waited a millisecond over here, and that's fun because it's he's essentially throwing down the glove and the gauntlet in order to, okay, well, why don't show me if you can do that, and it brings you to another level. And I love working with people that challenge me that way.
And before we conclude today, is there something you'd like to say to the audience about Brooklyn Suite, and would you like to pick a track for us to go out on today?
Oh my goodness.
You have plenty of time, but just what's your elevator pitch for Brooklyn Suite?
I mean, it's an incredibly personal project. That's it's about my family and them having come to the United States at the end of the 19th century. They were all musicians. There's a recording of even my grandmother singing at the Metropolitan Opera in the middle, and it's really tribute to all the music that they made together. That I interviewed them all to bring together a repertoire list, and I was even shocked about the variety of it, and I was like, all right, let's go, let's put in some Yiddish music, let's put in some German lieder, let's put in some opera, let's put in some Tin Pan Alley rep, let's put in some musical theater, and see and shake it and find the different connections between all of them, and put it in a cocktail shaker and see what if it's delicious or not. And I was really happy with how it came out.
Have you begun to tour this program?
I just started. Yeah, we have just mostly in France for now. I just did it in Paris at Salle Courtauld, and I have it like in a cabaret form where I have all these anecdotes from the family and where I explain, and it was awesome. Just to be able to share that with an audience, and it went really well. And we'll be doing it in like Toulouse and in Vézelay and in Arles and kind of all around France. And then eventually we want to bring it over.
Do you feel like the French audience wishes that Americans were this type of American, like from the early 20th century? Where that?
I mean, they do secretly love this repertoire, and they do have a love for the American culture and the creation of their style from this period, and it speaks to them. So yeah, I mean, I think that they do realize, since Europe is so vastly different from country to country, I think that they start to realize now, especially these days, that there's different types of Americans and different types of cultures throughout, and there's been a long tradition of American artists coming over here, so they're well oiled.
Brooklyn Suite came out last week. It's now available for you to stream or purchase. Zachary Wilder, thanks for coming on Opera Box Score.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Oliver.
Zachary Wilder makes his debut with Haymarket Opera's Monteverdi's Orfeo in September, which hopefully I will actually see. I know everyone's reminding me about the resolutions. I don't need reminding. I'm gonna do it, I promise. And I'm also gonna go to the gym very, very soon. What's this? I'm reaching into the hat. A third tenor.
Speaking of debuts in Chicago, Anthony León is Oliver's guest this week on WFMT's Listening to Singers, and they had a few extra minutes for a free throw on Mozart. We could have saved it for another pod, but it is Mozart's birthday next week, so here is Oliver's geek out on Cosi fan tutte with Anthony.
In every Mozart opera with the big seven, starting with Idomeneo, there's always a character who forgives. There's always one moment in the opera where it's like, if this person forgives, then we can resolve the plot,
Right.
Donna Elvira is that character in Don Giovanni, and famously it doesn't work.
Right.
Don Giovanni goes to hell.
Right.
Zarastro, it's obvious. Tito, it's obvious. The Contessa, it's obvious.
Yes.
But Ferrando is the one who, in Tradito, is forgiving Dorabella. He still loves her,
Right.
Yeah. But then I think we get this switch into a more romantic view of opera with Fra Plessis, because he, I feel like, is pissed off that Guglielmo sort of quote unquote beat him.
Yes.
And it's now an ego thing. It's
right.
I'm gonna show you, you know.
Yes.
But he doesn't realize that he actually could work very well with Fiordiligi as she is.
Right.
And in this duet, he's trying to quote unquote seduce her, but he's actually seduced by her character.
Right. Right.
And that moment after he sings I think the most beautiful line in the opera,
yes.
Yeah, that kills me. We hear the oboe come out.
Yes.
And that's the same sound as the overture, the very beginning of the overture where the oboe comes out.
Yes.
And to me, that's the god of love. That's Cupid saying, aha, you know.
Right. I mean, it's all fun and games until he finds out that Dorabella betrayed him with Guglielmo, and everything collapses for him. And exactly, at first in the duet, he's trying everything he can. He's still in the previous mode where he's like grasping at straws to try to convince her to be with him. I'm going to kill myself unless you're with me. But ultimately, he sees that she's really actually distraught by all this, and he just actually opens up his heart, and he's vulnerable. And you know, it's a lesson. The more accurate title of this opera is Scuole degli Amanti, the school for lovers, because this is a lesson for men. Women love vulnerability, you know, and she loves it. She opens up to it, and they have a connection, and that's the base of any relationship. But they have this connection that they didn't know they're discovering for just in that moment, and that discovery is one of the beautiful things of this opera. And I think Mozart does it so well. It's in a lot of his operas. It's like a moment where the tension builds and there's a discovery of something beautiful, and the music, it just tells you the story. It's incredible.
Well, last question for you. In my other interview for the radio, you were talking about listening back to, you know, recordings from 100 years ago to learn a different approach, which is not really a different approach, an old approach to singing Mozart today, and maybe other roles as your career develops. To me, that makes so much sense that you said that, because when I listen to your singing, I feel like you're a throwback tenor, like you're old-fashioned in your approach, and that's not an insult. That's like, I think of like,
no, it's a high compliment in my opinion. Thank you very much.
So, in your work so far, have you gotten any pushback from conductors, from coaches, like, you know what, that's a little bit old-fashioned, you know?
Mm-hmm. You know what? Not really. I mean, early on in my career, I think I had a little bit of pushback by some people. It's kind of like different schools of thought a little bit. There's people who, especially in the Mozart repertoire, they want kind of this early, mid 20th century feel of Mozart. And it's kind of like old Metropolitan Opera. It's kind of big house energy. It's kind of slower tempos and a little bit more, you know, not so many ornaments. Not, you know, there's so many things people can have opinions about. And that's fine. You know, for me, it's fine. We can talk style all day. If you want to embellish the return of the A section, then great. If you don't want that, then great. Okay, it's up to you. You're the conductor. But I think what is non-negotiable is the singing, the bel canto singing, because I think that is, where did Rossini learn to write coloratura? You know, he just invented that out of nowhere. No, there's nothing new under the sun. Mozart did that before Rossini did that, you know, and of course he knew about that. When you listen to the patter in Cosi fan tutte, it's exactly what Rossini and Donizetti wrote later on in the Romantic era, in the bel canto era. They're learning it from Mozart. Who else are they getting it from? I think it's all part of the same tradition. And when we listen to recordings of 100 years ago, we see that these people are singing in that tradition, in the Italianate tradition. And the voice has to be that. And it's non-negotiable. I think that is the true center of all vocal study for an opera singer, is to know that bel canto style well. And because we have these recordings of over 100 years ago, of people who knew these people, these composers, not Mozart, but, who knew Puccini, who knew Tosti, who knew, like Toscanini, and all these people who were stewards of the Italianate tradition. It's so useful. It's not even just useful. I think it's mandatory, really. If I were to say, it's really a mandatory thing for a singer to know those recordings well and to study the vocal production and bring that to Mozart. And if you want to embellish if you want to embellish the A section when it comes back, do it. Fine. Add the appoggiatura if you want, or not. But as long as it's sung in a way that still makes sense for Italian opera,
It strikes me that you may not, from this point on in your career, ever be invited to play in the sandbox of like the early music people, like the, like all those little like period instrument groups. I know that you made this recording of Return of Ulysses with I Gemelli. When you had that experience, did you learn anything about how these more Baroque specialists do things that maybe feels antithetical to your way of singing?
I was lucky that with I Gemelli and Emiliano González Toro, who's the director of that ensemble, he told me exactly what I just told you. And that's kind of what also got me, taught me about that. He said, I want you to sing Monteverdi like you're singing Rossini.
Okay.
And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, I want you to sing Monteverdi like you're singing Rossini because it's in the tradition. That is the tradition. And I think that opened the door for me for the Baroque repertoire. And since then, I've done Ulisse three times.
Have you done Telemaco yet?
I've done Telemaco, yeah. Okay. I did Telemaco in Aix-en-Provence a couple summers ago. And I'm doing Rameau in the future.
Oh, wow.
So I'm still doing a little bit of Baroque music, and I love to do it because it's a little bit different experience. It's like you're singing with a band. Mm-hmm. It's not really like there's no divide between orchestra, conductor, singer.
That's intimate, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're singing with a band. It's like you're making music on the spot. It's a little bit, I'm also a saxophonist, and I play jazz, and I love jazz music, and it's kind of like you're on your toes playing jazz music a little bit. Like, it's a conversation happening all the time, and you can be extremely expressive with your voice in ways that maybe other people in other repertoire would have a problem with. And so singing Monteverdi taught me a lot about ornaments, about flexibility of voice, style, and about mostly about text. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you're interpreting Shakespeare, Monteverdi.
Yeah. Okay, so don't rule out your career in early music.
Don't rule it out completely, no.
As you get ready to sing Fenton.
Right. Yeah. I've sung Monteverdi, Rameau. I would love to sing more Handel, actually. I haven't sung that much Handel. Besides Messiah, but I would love to do that more as well. But I love all kinds of genres of music, and I think I like to train my voice to be the most flexible it can be, and I like to adapt it to many different styles and genres. And my philosophy is if you keep studying the bel canto tradition of vocalism, that you can sing anything you want to sing. Because bel canto tradition is the hardest thing to master, and everything else should come along with it, So that's how I like to look at Mozart. That's how I like to look at Monteverdi. That's how I like to look at French music. Anything. I mean, the base is there. Starts there,
Anthony León makes his lyric opera of Chicago debut as Ferrando in Cosi fan tutte, February 1st through the 15th. And if you show up an hour early for the performance, you can hear Oliver's pre-concert talk. Tell him we sent you and wear your OBS lapel pin.
Now that's what I call a call to action, and this is what I call the 2-minute drill.
This just in. the 2-minute drill.
All right, listen up. Here's everything you need to know about what happened in Operaland this week.
Following their departure from the Kennedy Center, Washington National Opera has secured a new venue at George Washington University, where they will stage 2 operas this spring. The company will premiere a new version of Scott Joplin's Treemonisha, directed by Denise Graves, and Robert Ward's The Crucible, starring Janae Bridges and Ryan McKinney, both at Lisner Auditorium at GW University, the same venue where WNO gave its first performances 70 years ago.
More PFO 2KC. 2 more organizations have announced the Kennedy Center departures. Vocal Arts DC has announced that concerts featuring friends of the show Benjamin Bernheim, Quinn Kelsey, and Lebu will no longer take place at the Kennedy Center's Terrace Theater. As of this recording, there is not an update on when the concerts will be rescheduled. Martha Graham Dance Company has also announced that it will not perform at the Kennedy Center this spring as part of its centennial tour. In a timely but unrevealing statement, the Martha Graham Dance Company regrets we are unable to perform at the Kennedy Center in April. We hope to perform at the center in the future.
The Metropolitan Opera has announced layoffs, salary cuts, and the postponement of a new production for its 26-27 season. The company is firing 22 administrative staff and cutting the salaries of 35 executives earning more than $150,000 a year by 4 to 15%. Gelb and music director Yannick Nézet-Séguin will also take pay cuts, which Gelb said would be temporary, with full pay expected to be restored in 2027. The Met is also considering selling the naming rights to its theater and auctioning off its 2 Chagall murals, valued at $55 million. Next season, the Met will reduce its offerings to 17 productions, down from 18, postponing Mussorgsky's Kovanchina.
In the stories tailor-made for OBS file, a former Miss America turned ESPN reporter has made her opera debut. Charlene Wells was crowned Miss America in 1985 and subsequently became just the 3rd female sportscaster in ESPN history. Now she's assumed a new role in Utah Opera's production of Fidelio. If at any time you don't think I'm right for the part, will you pull me? Wells asked the company. You've got to promise me. Wells' role is as the Oracle, a narrator character that was created just for this production.
Ildar Abdrazikov has joined The Voice in Russia. The Russian base and notable supporter of Putin announced the news on social media. He is the latest opera singer to join the show, following Aida Garifulina on The Voice Kids in Russia and Bryn Tervel on The Voice Wales.
In major awards news, congratulations to Jakub Hrusha, named International Classical Music Awards Artist of the Year. Petr Zombola was awarded Composer of the Year, and mezzo-soprano Anja Mittermüller was the Young Artist of the Year. Also, the 63rd Concurso Internacional de Canto Tenor Viñas has announced its 2026 winners. First prize to Ukrainian-based baritone Vladislav Biolyaski, and congratulations to Gregory Kunda, who has received the Franco Corelli Award for his, quote, long and extraordinary career and his impeccable vocal technique, which still allows him to tackle new roles in the dramatic tenor repertoire.
Opera America has handed out its 2026 grants for the development of new American operas and music theater works. Recipients include Hometown Heroes, Chicago Fringe Opera for Black Caesar from Slave to Pirate to Legend, with Daryl Vincent Thomas and Kari Laurent as librettists, Friends of the Show, Austin Opera for Ofrenda, and Minnesota Opera for The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Other recipients include the Here Arts Center, American Lyric Theater, Opera Montana, Opera Saratoga, and Pacific Opera Victoria in Victoria, BC for the Opera Sprouts Initiative for, get it, 3 new works.
In trade news, Finnur Bjarnason will take over as General Director of Icelandic National Opera this week for a 5-year term. Deborah Warner is taking over as the Anita K. Hirsch Artistic Director of Park Avenue Armory, and William Powers was named as the new General Director of Pittsburgh Opera.
And on this day, January 20th, a few premieres for you. On this day in 1649 was the first performance of Antonio Cesti's opera Orontea in Venice. And on this day in 1892, it was the premiere of Catalani's opera La Valli in Milan.
Some births. In 1586, German composer Johann Hermann Schein was born near Annaberg. In 1681, Italian composer Francesco Bartolomeo Conti was born in Florence. French composer Ernest Chausson was born in Paris in 1855. The bass Émile Polaire was born in 1877 in Liblice. He sang in the premiere of Schwanda the Bagpiper by Jaromir Weinberger. Russian composer Alexander Cherepnin was born in 1899. Baritone Theodore Upman was born in 1920 in San Jose, California. He created a number of roles, including Billy Budd in the opera Billy Budd by Benjamin Britten, Bill in Bernstein's A Quiet Place, and Jonathan Wade in Carlisle Floyd's The Passions of Jonathan Wade. And happy birthday to mezzo-soprano Barbara Scherler, a German mezzo-soprano born in Leipzig. She created the role of Mrs. Isidor Strauss in Der Untergang der Titanic by Wilhelm Siebert, and sang in the premiere of Aribert Reimann's Gespenstersonate, a spooky sonata indeed.
And that's your 2-minute drill.
A voice that needs no introductions, but I'm going to give you one anyway. That was Maria Callas singing the end of the only piece of music that anyone on earth can probably name from La Vallee, the aria that she recorded on her Lyric and Coloratura arias, #Callas101.
Yes.
Also might be the soundtrack of Peter Gelb debating whether or not to jump into an avalanche over the new Met finances.
Ooh, transition. Wow.
I mean, you're not wrong. So this story is, first of all, the headline, jobs are getting cut, pay cuts are happening. They're thinking about auctioning off the Chagalls. They really don't want to tap their endowment, apparently. But the reason they think they might have to if they don't do this is because apparently the Saudi Arabian deal that they had, that we announced this, I don't know, must have been 4 or 5 months ago now. Apparently that deal, which was a huge, massive amount of money, I think it was like $300 million, was going to save them. It was going to keep them afloat. It was the deal with the devil, But apparently they've been kind of dragging their feet. And Peter Gelb has said in the New York Times article, we're getting this from, that, he still thinks the deal is going to go through, but they're doing this just in case, which makes me think that maybe the deal's not going to go through, Peter. This seems like a lot.
He says, his quote is, "I understand the Saudis have had to recalibrate their budgets because of their own economic concerns. I've been assured that it's going forward, but we have been waiting for some time." Girl, what economic concerns? Have you met the Saudis?
Go on, girl. Give us no information.
Have you met the Saudis? They are fine. They are some of the only people. Well, I mean, they're not fine in other ways. I just mean fiscally. Don't come for me. Don't write any angry letters. But yeah, it's not good. I mean, props to him for also taking a pay cut with his folks and with Yannick. But yeah, it really broke my heart to think that they might be selling those Chagalls. Those are...
And my memory is very much that when New York City Opera was going under, which was what, now 15 years ago?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
That they were talking about the Met having to auction off the Chagalls as the biggest canary in the coal mine. If only we had our co-host, who has been an opera podcasting legend going back to that time, who could give us his on-the-ground recollection.
We could read the cuneiform and the tablets from that time when he was
Everyone's
reporting.
going to have to go back into the archives.
Yeah, this is not good news, obviously. It's kind of interesting news because of what's not being said, because, you would think that, a company, because I will also say this is a canary in the coal mine, not just for the Met, but for perhaps the state of the arts in this country in general. The Met is the largest arts organization in the country, period.
Yeah.
So this level of desperation after something falling through with the Saudi Arabian oil money does feel, at the very least, poetic, if not indicative of the state of the arts in general. I don't know. This one kind of freaked me out a little bit when I saw it. This is breaking, I think, today.
Yeah, it was just published on the day of recording, Tuesday the 20th. And may we all hope that we're not witnessing der Untergang der Metropolitan Opera.
I love a good Untergang der Titanic reference. Incredible stuff. Speaking of, things going down, and the Kennedy Center, obviously not doing so hot. We've covered it very thoroughly. We might be covering a little bit less now that WNO has found a spot. It was their old spot from a million years ago. WNO is going to be doing, West Side Story, and they're doing a gala with Stephen Schwartz. And it looks like those things are happening now that they are not attached to the Kennedy Center, because as we reported last week, a lot of those artists, especially for the gala, were just not going to come if they were still at the Kennedy Center, the Trump Kennedy Center. So
barf. It can't really be renamed that until Congress does it. I'm going to say that till I am blue in the face. I have not yet been in this auditorium space at GW. It is a quick 6-minute drive from the actual Kennedy Center. So I'm glad it's at least, in the same part of the city, but I'm just glad that they have a spot. So they're going to do Treemonisha there. And then whatever their next piece was that I have forgotten that they said they're going to do, they're going to be announcing stuff for the Opera Gala later and venue for the West Side Story event later. The gala is back on, and it's back on with Stephen Schwartz and with Jamie Bernstein, who is the author and daughter of Leonard Bernstein. They did mention that the American Opera Initiative has been postponed, so they don't have any information out about the American Opera Initiative. I think they're probably just slowly putting together contracts, but the fact that they were able to find a space big enough to hold a production like this, period, because there's some art spaces in DC, but not as big as the Kennedy Center. So, I'm glad they were able to come together and find something so quickly, at least for these next 2 shows.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a Untergang der Titanic situation. Oh, wait, we already did that joke.
Keep doing it. It's excellent.
I just want to shout out Miss America. What's her real name? Oh, gosh. Charlene Wells.
Charlene Wells.
I love when people do this kind of thing and pull in local people. And of course, for us, an ESPN reporter is very on brand for us, and bringing them into opera productions. I have a vision where I one day want to produce a production of The Rise and Fall of the City of Mahagoni, where the scene happens where the hurricane takes out Pensacola, Florida, and I want to bring in the weather reporter from Pensacola to do that scene.
To be the Oracle of Mahagoni.
I'm just saying it's a good idea, and I support it. Let's wrap this show up.
Good call. Bad call. On Opera Box Score.
Good call, bad call. That's how we end the show around here. Let's start with Ashley Hardgrave.
I recommended a Peacock show last week, and I'm going to do it again. I just finished the series All Her Fault on the Peacock streaming service. It's the one that stars Sarah Snook and Dakota Fanning and a couple of other fantastic people. Give Sarah Snook the Emmy. Give it to her right now. It is.
Apparently, her name is Sarah Snook, which sounds like it couldn't possibly be true. But one of the other podcasts I listened to. No, that it's not Snook, it's Snook. So
Snook.
You heard it here first, unless you listen to Keep It, in which case you're hearing it here second.
You're hearing it second. Well, if I have to be second to anybody, it's fine for it to be the lovely folks over at Keep It. But yes, All Her Fault on Peacock. One little asterisk warning there. It deals with kidnapping of a young child in a really intense way. So if you happen to be the parent of young children, this might not be the time for you to watch this. But if that does not apply to you, I encourage you to check out All Her Fault on Peacock.
Matt Cummings.
Okay, so after my last good call on this show, I did watch the season premiere of season 2 of The Pit, and I have to say, hello, increased HBO budget, because that footage of Noah Wiley motorcycling around Pittsburgh did make me kind of emotional, because we never ever ever get talked about unless it's about sports or as the setting of the movie Inspector Gadget starring Matthew Broderick and Rupert Everett. The premiere was so stressful that I have not watched any additional episodes yet, and to fill in my time, I've been watching Industry all the way back at the very beginning because I want to watch the new season, and that show is great, but it is wild, and also, what are they talking about at any moment? finance is literally not real.
That's it for this week's edition of America's Talk Radio show about opera. Make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Get your voice heard and find links to stuff we've talked about at our website, operaboxscore.com. That's also where you can put your money where our mouths are. Give back to the OBS using the Support the Team tab. Your announcer is Norm Waddell, your creative consultant is Oliver Camacho, and your audio editor is me. The executive producer of the OBS is George Cedarquist. For co-hosts Matt Cummings and Ashley Hardgrave, and our guests Christopher Sokoloski, Zachary Wilder, and Anthony León, I'm Weston Williams, asking you to continue the conversation about opera as you rethink the choice you made to pass on an easy field goal. We're back with an all-new show next week when Joseph Lattanzi goes inside the huddle, and no joke, we also have a free throw from Queen D herself, Miss Joyce D. Donato. Plus, you get more opera headlines, more hot takes, and more thirst trap shepherds. Join us.